to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Guns, self-defense, concealed carry. This is the Patriot Defense Podcast. From the war room in Idaho's high desert, here's your host, Todd Echols.
And we are back with Training Series Episode 6, and it's going to be Acquiring the Sights Upon Presentation. And it is a Monday morning. The weekend is over. Monday mornings. We all dread Monday mornings. I personally try to keep Monday, but since I have control of my own schedule, I try to keep Monday mornings to the point of where I just don't really schedule anything. All I got to do today is the podcast, maybe go work out a little bit at the gym, and just kind of prepare for the week. So I leave. It's so nice being a small business owner because you can set your own schedule. And I don't want Mondays to even exist. So my Monday I used to actually prepare for the beginning of the week, which is Tuesday in my case. So there you go. One of the benefits of owning your own business. But today, like I said, it's Training Series, Episode 6 on this Monday morning, and we're going to talk about acquiring the sights upon presentation. Now, we're getting really close. After I do this episode, we're getting really close to working ourselves into some actual live fire type of drills. But these things that I'm talking about now leading up to them are things that you need to practice at home. You need to work on these. You need to work on these things, with an unloaded gun. If you can't make it to the range, obviously, with an unloaded gun, at your house, in your garage, in your basement, in your man cave, wherever that might be. Or what's that? It's the opposite of a man cave. It's for women, the she shed or whatever you guys want to call it. I don't know, because I know we don't just have men listening to this podcast. So there you go. Acquiring the sights upon presentation. Why is that important? Well, in a defensive situation, that's what we train for, correct? I mean, we may have to use our firearms, hopefully never, but we may have to use our firearms in a defensive situation. So you want to learn how to do what? You want to learn how to acquire those sights and acquire those sights quickly. And when we do this, one of the best ways to practice, and there could be all kinds of sights. I mean, we have iron sights and we also have red dots, which if you have shot in the past with iron sights and that's all you've shot with, and you are switching over to an optic, a red dot, a green dot of some sort, you need to practice that. That is where the learning curve is when you switch from iron sights to an optic, is acquiring that dot, right? So just acquiring the sights in general, back to the iron sight situation here, right? You want to take the gun. You want to hold the gun perfectly parallel with both hands in that grip. This is how we're going to practice this, right? You're going to hold it at your chest. You're going to drive it out from one corner of the rectangle to the far upper other opposite corner of that rectangle. You don't want to bowl. You don't want to fish. We discussed that last time. But you want to drive that thing out. And when you do so, you're going to be looking at the target, and you're going to drive that gun out so that those sights are, boom, the sights lock up on the target. You drive that gun out to your line of sight, and you learn exactly how you have to hold that gun and exactly how you have to move that gun to be able to acquire the sights every single time. And you can do the same thing with a red dot. Now, if you are out, and what you can do? You can actually pair this with live fire. Pair this with a dry fire, unloaded gun, right? Drive it out, acquire those sights, take the good, nice dry fire. Take the proper trigger press, right? So you're essentially working one drill into another drill into another drill, and you're combining them all to get the full picture, right? Drive out, acquire those sights, bang. Or click, or whatever. Hopefully it's a click if you're dry firing. Drive those sights, drive the gun out, acquire the sights, click. Right? You can do this on the range too, in a live fire application with the loaded gun. Drive it out, acquire the sights, bang. Right? So you can practice it both ways, and you should incorporate the dry fire into the acquiring of the sights. And the goal here is to do it every single time. Be able to acquire those sights every single time. And if you drive out and you don't acquire those sights, and you have to sit there and move the gun around and hunt for them, guess what? You don't get the shot, or you don't get the dry fire. Now, this is how I train when people learn to use red dots. You drive it out, and you only get the shot, especially if you're doing live fire. You only get the shot, which is the fun part of the whole thing, right? You only get that shot if you're able to acquire those sights. And if you have to do any hunting on that red dot to find that red dot, you don't get the shot. You need to bring the gun back in, adjust your grip, see what you're doing incorrect, and fix it. And every time you drive out and you immediately acquire that dot or acquire those sights, you get the shot, right? And we don't want to get sloppy on that trigger press. We want to get a good trigger press, get a clean shot, I mean, that's the whole goal of everything. Now, as we do this, and I've mentioned this before, right? You're driving out from your chest, acquiring the sights. This is actually the second half of the draw. It's the second half of the draw stroke. It's like we're learning the draw, but we're learning it backwards, right? And the reason why you want to be able to acquire the sights quickly in a defensive situation, obviously, is because it's just super important, to know where your round is going. You do need to acquire those sights. But when you draw that gun and you drive out, you might actually be driving out shooting as you go, depending on how close the interaction is, right? How close the threat is to you. You aren't necessarily just going to drive the gun out if they're, 3 feet from you or 4 feet from you. They're just going to knock it out of the way or take control of it themselves, right? You don't want them to acquire the weapon. So a lot of times you're going to draw, drive, shoot, right? That's why we don't do fishing. We don't do bowling. We want that firearm pointed at the threat. And we're firing as we move backwards and create that distance and drive out at the same. It's kind of like we're pressing ourselves back into reverse, right? And you bang, 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 bang. And as you move backwards, what's happening? Hopefully, you are getting further away from the threat. And so you don't necessarily have to use the sights right off the get-go, but you should be striving to acquire them. As you drive out, it's bang, bang, bang. You're moving backwards. You're creating that space. Bang, bang. As you create space, what? As you create space, you need to acquire those sights so you can still get an accurate shot. So it's bang, 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 bang. Drive it out. Bang, bang. You acquire the sights. Now you're on him. And you created that distance. And you can still take those shots, because the further away a shot is, like the further away a target is, or the threat, right, that you're shooting at, you need to slow down. That as you slow down and take a little more time on the sights, right, that's when the target is further away, you need to. That's what dictates that speed. That's what dictates how you shoot. That's what dictates whether or not you're actually using the sights. So. Instead of saying bang, I'm gonna say, using the sights, not using the sights. So you draw, the threat's coming at you. You're driving out. You drop that elbow. You're driving out as you move backwards, and you're firing, but it's no sights, no sights, no sights, no sights. You're up into your sight picture. Acquire those sights, bang, 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 right? Heaven forbid any of us are in a situation that we have to do that, but this is a good muscle memory. This is a good neural pathway thing to create. When you're really close to a target, you don't necessarily need to use the sights, right? And that's a big thing in the world of firearms, is how fast can you draw and fire and get like in a center mass target, right? Or a certain area, whatever the target might be. Draw and fire. How quick can you do that? Draw and fire. How quick can you do that? You can do it pretty quick if you're not using the sights, right? You got to slow down. You got to acquire, or if you have to learn how to acquire those sights and get an accurate shot, how quickly can you do that and still get a really accurate shot, right? That's when it gets tough. Like, that's what we need to strive for. If someone's really close and you can almost touch them with the barrel of the gun and you're firing, you do what you got to do, but how accurate and fast can you be combined from the draw? Like that's a good goal to have. That's something to strive for. So there you go. That's all I got for you this week, but that is acquiring the sights upon presentation. Don't cheat. Don't give yourself an out. If you don't acquire the sights, reevaluate your grip, reevaluate your stance, reevaluate everything you got going on, and make it work. Don't cheat. You don't get the shot unless you acquire the sights right away. You drive them right up. Now, I will say this, just like I'm going to say with anything else. This will bleed over. Like if you practice and train with one gun, this will bleed over to another gun to a certain extent. The idea is still the same. But different firearms have what? Have different ergonomics. They have different barrel lengths, which can affect the sight and how quickly you can line those things up and acquire them. Different dots. You got, different brands of optics. So if you switch guns, these are the things that you need to practice with that gun. If you're trying to vet a new carry gun, you've got to get proficient with it. And this is the kind of stuff that you need to do to make sure, right, that you are going to be proficient enough with this gun and responsible enough with it to defend yourself and not harm others or innocent bystanders in the process. So there you go. Give you something to do for the week. Get out, train. I appreciate you listening to this podcast. Share it with your family. Share it with your friends. Like usual, I feel like I'm just on repeat here. But share it with your family. Share it with your friends. Post it up on social media. I don't know who does that, but when you do it, I do appreciate it. And I will see you guys. I'll see you guys in a week. Bye.